Yeah, Weege show here, a little different. We are in Milan. We'll be covering the EICMA show for the next 3 days, courtesy of our folks at Ogio Powersports. They got the bags to get you anywhere, even from the USA to Italy. In fact, American Airlines liked the 9800 rig bag so much that they actually stole it from me, and I might never get it back. So I'm just going to wear these same clothes every day. We are in the middle of Milan, and I'm telling you, you're in the center of it all when you're in the fashion mall-ish area in the middle of Milan. So there's Louis Vuitton. I don't even know how you pronounce that or what that company is. You know, I don't buy that stuff. There's the Prada store back there. And what's this one? What's this one? McDonald's. Wow, very nice, very nice. So this is an indoor-outdoor mall, and I feel like if you're in Milan, you got to go do some fashion stuff, right? Before we get to the show, which actually starts Tuesday, but I am going to get over there on Monday, setup day, because they're building a city inside this, I don't know if the Italian word is convention center, but that's what I'm going to call it, where EICMA takes place. It is the world's largest motorcycle trade show, and I think more important than ever, because the trade shows used to be a huge part of business in America as well. The Indianapolis trade show is really an event in February where a lot of business got done. The trade show not quite as popular in America as it was. There is still the AIM Expo, which we'll see in California, same weekend as Anaheim 1 at the beginning of 2026. AIM Expo is good, but EICMA, the European motorcycle side, is just so much bigger than America. Why? Well, as I talked about on the Weege show back in Bud's Creek time, people ride scooters and motorcycles to work here in Italy in ways they don't in America. It's just a bigger overall scene. Maybe the motocross, supercross scene, I don't want to get anyone mad, might be #1 in America compared to anywhere else in the world. But the common, just the amount of people that live life on two wheels, that's pretty big here. So the EICMA show is huge. We'll cover it. They're even building a motocross, supercross type track outside with a lot of cool demos. Stefan Everts and Mikel Pachon, amongst others, will be riding or racing in some sort of Legends event. We'll cover all that. I just wanted you to see some of the sights and sounds to start it here in Milan, which is the fashion capital as I know it, and I didn't realize a motorcycle capital, which we'll get to. So this is called the Duomo. This is a must-see, according to my wife, so I had to buy tickets. I'm gonna go inside. I won't bore you with videos of that because I know you're here for the dirt bike stuff, and we'll get to more of that later. That's the Duomo. Look at this. Look at this 360 view of the stuff that you see here in Milan. I got a little take on why the buildings, the statues, the castles, the fountains. I got to go to Rome a couple years ago thanks to Tony Caroli. It's just more spectacular visually, architecturally than anything in America. Sorry, not sorry. And I've got a take as to why. So much of this stuff was built, this Duomo back here, they started work on that in 1300. My theory is this: back when these kingdoms, these kings, these queens, these royal families had just an unprecedented amount of control and money and power in those eras of human history, you got all the money, you got all the control, you got all the power, what are you gonna do with it? You can't buy a car, you can't go on exotic vacations, there's not a lot of things to spend the money on, so they just spent it on amazing architecture and sculptures. There's a joke here that there's construction going on. There's a joke, this Duomo, humankind will be done as we know it before they're done actually constructing this place. It's been in a constant state of improvement and adding on and making it better for 800 years. Anyway, if you go to Europe, you see historical buildings, columns, architecture. I just got to say it, you'll never see things like that in the United States, because by the time we had billionaires and millionaires and a concentration of power and people who had things, well, then you're buying a couple of mansions and some big screen TVs and some cool cars. Napoleon, he only got to work on this. There was nothing else to spend the money on. And yes, Napoleon was part of that. Like 500 years into its existence in the 1800s, he commissioned some additions to that building. So that's what I learn about the culture when I come here. There are gorgeous lake houses not far from my house. I don't have the gorgeous lake house, but there's gorgeous lake houses in Lake Norman in Rando, Charlotte, North Carolina by me, where there's people that are probably millionaires. Michael Jordan has a house on the lake. But Michael Jordan didn't build a castle that everyone can come see just to flaunt it. He just has a really cool place for himself. Michael Jordan, legend, a lot of money, very famous. You're not building this. But they don't commission things for people to see like they did back then. Welcome to Milan. Welcome to the EICMA show. Let's go see some motorcycles. Again, sorry, not sorry. Even the motorcycle police are more stylish in Milan. Is that pink on their pants? They got cool BMWs. Sorry, Chips, Punch, and John got nothing on this setup. Well groomed too. Nice with the beard, the haircut. Everything is stylish. What is the appeal here? Is it Giorgio Armani? Is it the Prada store? No, this is what they call the bull's testicles. This is yes, that original tile work had art, and people will do this thing where they spin on the testicles to the point where they've worn it out and now there's a hole for your heel. Yeah, Giorgio Armani. Yeah, Prada. You bringing that? You bringing bull's testicle? Oh yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with these guards? I mean, you want to steal some jewelry or some expensive clothing? You ain't gonna do nothing. Not gonna do anything with these guys. Man, this is unbelievable, this place. Look at that. That's really cool. Oh, that's my wife. That's my wife. No, don't go in that store. Don't go in that store. Don't go in that store. No, I gotta go. No. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is like an average commuter zone, and here's the motorcycle part. Look, these are just business people just going to work on scooters, bro. They love two wheels here. Are you kidding me? I'm supposed to be intimidated by that? They're too well groomed. They got the cool hats. Come on, I'm not scared of the military when they look that good. Okay, we've arrived at the trade show. I'm gonna go to the Kawasaki booth in a moment because there's some breaking news you might have heard about today involving them. But over here, this is just a general idea. How many floors are there? Nine halls? 8. That's Dustin from our advertising group and Scott Wallenberg. There are 8 different of these. They're giant. I'll throw in some jokes. I'll show you a little bit. This is setup day, so pardon the mess. So there's 8 of these showing different bikes and different brands, and one of the key things here is that there's a lot of brands that we have never heard of in America. There's one of the whole halls is just Chinese brands, and the hope is that a distributor picks them up and sells their motorcycles through dealerships in each country, including the United States. But look at this. I know the glass is not clean yet, but this is a track. They will have exhibition and races out here. Stefan Everts and Mikel Pichon will be riding this track. We got 5 whoops there. I don't know, the Himalayas from Winners Take All. That's finish line. This rubble here, they're gonna have an endurocross type thing. So there will be actual riding races, so to speak, going on all day. Look, whole shot line. Here we go. High Uwality Drive is so easy. So when you think High Uwality, think Sunho. And by the way, the ice cream truck, come a long way. I hope there's not a guy back there scooping it out, because that is not a lot of space. But it is High Uwality. It's a good one. This is the mud, and awfully specific with the displacement here. This is a 452, so getting a little more power than those mere 450s out there. And then over here, that K looks awfully familiar. That's KL, that's not Kawasaki, but it sure looks like it. Insta 360 with it. And they got this confused. So this bike here is the SMX Enduro, SMX Super Motocross, but Enduro. We've got it all in one bike. Wow, that's versatility. The crazy thing about these knockoff bikes, they're starting to look more and more legit. Like, that doesn't even look that bad. Never mind the plastic on the wheel. Like that. That's a pretty sweet looking machine. And for you guys that don't really want to stick out too much, you could just be this plain. You could just be John Doe. And okay, use your imagination on that website.
All right,
Eco helmets, thinking beyond next. Beyond what's next? That's like beyond. So we got Benda, they are the king of mud. This other group, WXP, looks like she's building a sand track right now. This is Victoria Motorcycles, Victoria. And WXP has the golden powertrain platform. Wow, from the dual shocks we go to long travel, really stepping up the suspension on this bike. Look at the chain.
The world's longest chain there.
All right, welcome to the Kawasaki booth. So we have big news to cover on the show today. Finally, November 1st, the announcement of Chase Sexton to Monster Energy Kawasaki, one of the worst kept secrets in the sport. There was actually more intrigue over who his teammate would be, because we know Jorge Prado was definitely out. It was our man Steve Mathis that actually broke. First, he thought it was going to be Cameron McAdoo moving up from the Pro Circuit team to a 450. Then he said, no, it's actually going to be Marchbanks. So Marchbanks is in as Sexton's teammate. You can see the RacerX social media and website for the full press release. We're in Europe right now, so Kawi's Motocross display is a little more hint, if you can see underneath this very, very secretive cover. That is a Roman Fevre bike. Kawi's very pumped. Believe it or not, Fevre winning the MXGP world title this year. That's their first world title since 1998 for Kawasaki with Sebastian Tortelli. That makes zero sense to me. You think they've won 10 in between that time? But let's talk Sexton to Kawi and what this means. We'll get to the Kawi part first, but I think the first thing in everyone's brain is another team switch for Sexton. And look, if you read the quote in the press release today about Kawasaki is going to give him all the tools he needs to win. Well, remember when he switched from Honda to KTM, he said the big thing about KTM is they appear to be the team that will do whatever it takes to win. And I understand grass is greener, no pun intended, and the Lawrences were moving in at Honda. And Sexton did crash quite a bit. He had a Supercross title on the Honda, but he crashed quite a bit. And the big question 2 years ago was, will the crashing go away? The front end tucks, he's got this race won, and then out of nowhere he goes down. That was the big question 2 years ago. Was it a bike thing? Well, I feel like he did on the KTM do less of that, but that ridiculous speed wasn't quite there either. So it was an even or. What's going to happen now on the Kawi? And now we get to the Kawi part of the Sexton thing. His story is going to be, is he the guy that switches teams, blames the bike and team for his own struggles, or truly was there something about the Honda and KTM team and or motorcycle that held him back, and this will unlock him? But now we got to talk to Kawi part, because let's be honest, Jason Anderson's year, not good. Jorge Prado's year, horrific, like really one of the worst seasons that we've ever had a guy have, not just in the results, but just in the overall, the way it was perceived, what he said, the not trying, all of that, and the standard that he had set as a world champion. A guy was expected to at least podium, if not win races. Just based on all that, where it was, bad. I feel like Kawi has gotten a mulligan on, I think Prado played it so badly with the fans that eventually the fans are like, he's just whining, he's just complaining, it can't be the bike. But now we're gonna find out. What if it goes badly for Sexton? And on the same wavelength, I think Sexton, because he already left Honda when he had problems with the KTM, I think it leads some fans to say, maybe Sexton just complains, and maybe it's not the KTM. But we're going to find out, because tomorrow KTM will be announcing their team for 2026, which will include Prado and Eli Tomac. So it's almost like the judgment of, was it really a KTM problem for Sexton? Was it really a Kawasaki problem for Prado? The true judgment of that might come in 2026, and then we can look back on 2025 and be like, oh yeah, Sexton is a lot better in the Kawi. It was the KTM, it was the Honda. And then Prado, that one's gonna be a little harder to measure, because mentally you gotta figure he's gonna be so locked in to prove himself on a KTM. But those team flips of those three, judging is gonna be very, very harsh, both for this year and for how it pertains to last year. But they got Sexton on a Kawi, and one tiny bit of inside information I can give you, when you see Prado having the problems he did, doesn't that mean that maybe Sexton's taking a risk? Well, I asked someone who might know, maybe Sexton himself, and I was like, are you worried when you see Prado? And he said no. So this is kind of the tradition of the offseason. Every rider thinks they'll be fine. Every team thinks they'll be fine. In the offseason, everybody's stoked. We're going to find out when the racing begins if that's the right fit for him. If it is, it's good for the sport, right? And if it works for Tomac, that's good for the sport. But that's big news today. See these bikes right here? See these bikes right here? TM Moto, #1 off-road leader. You guys probably didn't even know that. #1, #1, baby.